right now?
But we start when you start.
Okay. What comes to your mind when you hear the term boys will be boys? Normally, many of us may think of just the stupid acts that all guys perform with their friends, or most guys perform with their friends, like lighting fires, boxing each other, and doing other things like playing football inside, in my instance. What comes to mind for me is playing football inside on a cold fall morning when it was actually my mom's birthday, the day right before Thanksgiving. So winter had set in a little bit early, and there was already snow on the ground. I was only 10 years old, and I had a friend over, and we were playing Madden and got inspired to play football. We went outside and got too chilled with only sweatshirts on, and my dad and my sister had just left. They went to go get my mom a late birthday present, knowing my dad. And after being too chilled outside, we headed inside and started playing football. This was not the brightest idea, but we used beanbags as the touchdowns, and the beanbags were very slippery. As I was sprinting towards one of the end zones, my friend grabbed my ankle, I caught myself with my other foot, and slid forward into my couch. I slammed my head on the wooden base of the couch, and on that I got a massive gouge across my forehead, leaving me with, passed out with blood all over on my couch and on my carpet. As I came to, my friend was screaming and he was yelling at me to call my dad. I still had not known what happened. I did not know that I was covered in blood or anything like that. So I gave him the phone number and he called my dad screaming. As I could hear my dad screaming, I could also hear the wind through the phone. I could hear him driving and yelling at my sister that something bad has happened. So I went and I looked in the mirror, not knowing still what had happened, and I saw the massive gouge across my forehead. Blood was covering my head, covering my torso, and as I went back in the living room to sit down, it was also covering the couch and the carpet. We had gotten a new couch and a new carpet just before that, and we were getting ready to get another one. And as my dad returned home, he was screaming, he was furious, as my friend Evan was very nervous about what was going to happen to him also. My dad had rushed me to an emergency care center where I had gotten about 15 stitches across my forehead. As I came back, everything returned to normal, as I, of course, got a massive lecture from my parents about listening to them, as they had told us not to play football inside that morning. And as many of us may think, or as many of us may wish that boys would not do these stupid acts, as we grow up, many of us still do, except these always teach us very important lessons, and they teach us not to do certain things and to listen to our parents when they have told us to do something and we try to go against it otherwise. We need to learn this, or we need to learn from this, as we need to grow up and learn to be able to take our better judgment into the hands of ourselves. Yeah.
How long was that?
3:34.
To err is human, to forgive is divine. I learned this 2 Sundays ago at 3 o'clock in the morning as a friend and I cruised through the countryside of Zionsville. I passed my buddy's house that we were going to that night, and I tried to turn around in the neighborhood. As I went to turn around, I knew I was accelerating too quickly. My brakes locked out, and I heard the squeals of the tires as I was cruising towards a rock. My front right tire struck a rock, and everything went black. I woke up, and my car was pinned against a brick wall. As I pried myself out from the car door, goosebumps overwhelmed me. I knew I made a mistake. I knew that I shouldn't have been out. I began thinking, why was I out here? Why wasn't I at home sleeping? Why wasn't I doing what I was supposed to be doing? But everyone makes mistakes. It's human. To err is human. But what you learn from them and forgiving yourself for those mistakes and moving on, that's divine.
Time check.
Go climb a mountain. Well, clearly that's easier said than done. I know from firsthand because my small group and I actually climbed a mountain. 2 days into our week-long hike through the Colorado Rockies, we realized the hell we were getting ourselves into. Pyramid Peak from a mile away looked like a toy, piece of cake, easy. But when we realized how close we were getting, how tall it was unspeakable. This was no walk in the park. We had to elevate around 3,000 feet in just about 2 miles. Not to mention our legs burning from the days before, and the Colorado Rockies air is thin. Breathing turns more into gasping. I got myself into something I couldn't get myself out of, and it turned out to be the hardest thing I've ever done. This is just one thing I've been through that's easier said than done, but many people have had loved ones die from cancer, for instance. It's easy to say, we need a cure for cancer, that's obvious, we need a cure for cancer, but the doing is the hard part. A lot of things are easier said than done.
Yesterday, during my golf match, I was approaching the tee box of hole 7. It was very hot, it was humid, as we previously discussed. The sun beat down on my back, and I'd been playing horrible this round, and I was very upset and stressed. So I approached the ball, and I thought for a second, and then I swung, and I mishit the ball. And so upset with my misfortunes from the day, I slowly walked towards the ball to hit my second shot. And as I walked, I just thought of how stressful golf has been for me and how it's so upsetting when I can't be successful. And then as I kept walking, I realized getting upset solves nothing. It's not always going to be a great day on the golf course, and getting mad only makes matters worse. So as I'm still walking, I realized that Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither was my golf game. And realizing this it relaxed me. It made me realize that even though I want to be successful in golf and I want to do well, that I've been playing golf for a month and I'm not going to be as good as Tiger Woods as much as I'd like to be. And sometimes my competitive nature gets the best of me, and I just want to slam my golf club into the ground. But then realizing and remembering that Rome wasn't built in a day, I can also remember that my golf game wasn't built in a day, and that keeps me calm and keeps me going.
That would pertain to this proverb. For me, my experience that correlates with this proverb would be the championship match of my tennis tournament. I was already down a set, and my will to win the championship, the trophy, and the glory for me and my team was very, very high. I knew that it would take all my effort to get this. So I worked hard, I kept battling, and eventually I had pushed it to a third set, into a tiebreaker. The pressure was very, very tense. All the eyes were on me, and I could feel that nerve in my belly just starting to grip tighter. I started to get worried and tighter and tense, and then I realized that my will had gotten me this far, and that if I wanted to finish strong and to get this championship, then I needed to trust myself. And so I realized that I could win it. I finally did, and the crowd went crazy for me. We had won the championship and the trophy. It felt so good knowing that my efforts and my will to win the championship had helped me to raise this trophy up with my team in victory. So I realized at that moment that it wasn't myself or my team that helped me out, but just my will, my desire to do it. And I think we all can know and experience that where there's a will, there's a way, and that we can always accomplish our goals.
Thinking outside the box is a really wonderful concept, because in the box is where the norm is and everything is kind of the same. And the way I like to express myself is through artistic means. Every year, for homecoming, which is actually coming up, I make a dress out of duct tape. I've made this freshman and my sophomore year, and I'm in the middle of making my third one this year. And I started this because I like to express myself, and I'm a little bit weird. And in doing the duct tape dresses, I've expressed that I am a little bit weird and I'm odd, and it also costs a whole lot less money than getting a really fancy dress from an department store. My favorite part about it is that I get to be creative, and I don't have a schedule. I can sit down and work on it whenever I want. I know for a fact nobody else is going to have my same exact dress or anything even remotely like it. I also know that it's a reflection upon who I am. This year I'm doing a paint splatter dress, and I actually painted my room completely paint splattered, as well as last year's was a cupcake when I was really into cupcakes. And then the year before that was all my favorite colors. The dresses really show who I am, not only as a weird kind of sore thumb, but as someone really unique and true to themselves.
Not a day goes by that I don't remember her looking up at me with her big brown eyes and asking me to never forget her. They say that a picture is worth 1,000 words, and I fully agree. This picture is not only just me and this cute little girl, Jataya, smiling for a photo. This picture means her completely changing my life and turning it upside down. This past summer, I was lucky enough to go on a mission trip to Mississippi with my church, and while I was there, one of the things that we did was put on a VBS for all the little kids around the area. And these kids are coming from complete poverty and terrible living conditions and just broken families. And one of the first little girls that I met was Jataya, and I got to spend the entire week with her, and I got to learn her story. And she came from not living with her parents, and in fact she didn't even know where her parents were, but she happened to be the happiest and sweetest little girl that I ever met in my entire life. And it just blew my mind that she could come from nothing and be filled with so much joy. But we have everything that we need, and we are never satisfied. And so I just learned so much from this little girl the week that I spent with her. And every time that I look at this picture, I just think of the happiness that she carried with her wherever she went, and I hope that someday I could be just like her.
I'm a person who often act before I think or experiment before I research. This is a trait that has served me well in situations where time was a factor, but it has also led me to undesirable situations where I know a little forethought could have saved me a lot of trouble. One example of this was a time at Nick Prokai's house with another one of my friends who I will call Nick D for the sake of the story. Well, anyways, we were in his kitchen up to no good when Nick Prokai offered my friend Nick D a non-chewable multivitamin tablet. Nick D, unaware of what this was, put it in his mouth and began to chew. After about 3 seconds, he began to choke and gag, and then soon after, he spit out in disgust as Nick Prokai and I laughed hysterically. Well, me being me, I had to just find out how disgusting this multivitamin non-chewable tablet actually was. I mean, if Nick could do it, so could I. So I put it in my mouth, began to chew, and instantly regretted that decision. For the tablet had broke down to a grainy substance that absorbed every liquid in my mouth. Every time I swallowed, it made it only worse. I choked, I gagged, I opened up the back door, and I perched over the edge of the back porch. My eyes were running, my nose was running, all I wanted was a glass of water, and all my friends could do was laugh. Yeah, it was humiliating at the time, but it's humorous to look back on now. What I find it most intriguing is that it was the mistakes like those in our past that really define who we are today. Because no matter how much we live, boys will be boys. But it's when those boys learn, do they become men.